Yeah, you're going into the storage closet. And I know it's scary, but I don't think you're going to have a problem. Hey everybody, Greg with RC Driver, and thanks for checking in to part 4 of our Craniac Makeover series. Now, if you've been following along in the series, you know I put a lot of aluminum parts on here. I've got some aluminum turnbuckles, aluminum shock caps, aluminum hubs, and steering knuckles and stuff like that. I've got a wheelie bar out back. Today is the day where I go and give it a cool look because I have the Bigfoot body to replace that Craniac body. So I've got a clear body here. I'm going to give you a quick painting tutorial, show you how easy it is to get a cool custom look on this body. I've got the chrome accessories to deck it out, make it look really cool. And then I've got some chrome rims to throw back on the truck. It had satin rims on it before, so the new chrome rims will look great with the chrome grille and the chrome roll bar on it. I think this truck is going to look awesome. I think my son is going to really like it. So let's get to work, and when I'm done, I'm going to show you how cool this thing looks thrashing around in the backyard. So before I get into painting and detailing the body, I'm going to throw the rims and tires on the truck first. So now when you do go and switch the rims and tires on your vehicle, whether it's the Traxxas Stampede, such as this is a Stampede base truck, or one of the other Traxxas vehicles, just make sure that you do go and pick up the correct rims. There are different offsets, and on this vehicle, the front and rear are different types of rims. So you're going to want to make sure you get that, otherwise you get this weird offset. Maybe the rear tires will be much wider than the fronts. Basically, you want the square look on the vehicle, so just keep a note of that. And right here I have the front tires. That is part number 3665X for this particular vehicle, and then the rears are 3663X. So I'm going to go throw the front tires on first. And actually, let me just show you the difference between the chrome rim and the satin rim. So this is the rim that was on the Craniac, and this is the new chrome rim. It'll give it a good look. And actually, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to use the Traxxas serrated aluminum wheel nuts here. These are actually blue anodized, and they have a very sharp serrated back to them that will help grip the rim and make sure it doesn't come off. So I'll start off with the fronts first, and I'll have the chevrons facing forward. It's really easy to put on a wheel. I'm sure if you took it off, you know how to put it back on. When you are using the aluminum serrated nuts, just make sure you don't cross thread it. If the nut starts to feel like it's very tight going on, you just want to make sure you didn't cross thread it. So just double check that. And the last wheel. And there you have it. Those are some good looking wheels right there. That'll look really good with the chrome trim on the Bigfoot body. I'm really excited to get the body finished now. Speaking of that, let's check out the body before I start painting it. Okay, so here's the body. It's part number 3660. And as you can see, it is clear, so you're going to have to paint it. Actually, another thing to note here is Traxxas puts on these Ford officially licensed decals. Lets you know that this is an officially licensed product. They are working with Ford to make sure that this is a proper replica. And inside here we've got some decals and stuff. Just get that out of the way. So let's check out the body first. It's got some nice lines to it, and as you can see, all the holes are pre-drilled from the factory, so you don't have to worry about drilling or reaming out the holes yourself. And of course it has the overspray film on it, so you can go ahead and paint, not worry about overspray getting on the outside of the body. Once you're done painting, you'll be able to peel off this overspray. Let's take a look at what else is included with the body. So they give you some decals here, some nice colorful decals. Got the Bigfoot logo there, KC lights, some headlight decals, some marker lights, Summit, Firestone. So that is a nice looking decal sheet. So we also have some window masks that will make masking the windows a lot easier. And then we have this chrome sheet. Looks like we have the windshield. We've got some tailgate decals, tail light decals, and so on and so forth. It kind of reminds me of an old Sledgehammer decal sheet. Pretty neat from Traxxas. Now let's take a look at the chrome accessories. So obviously that's the body by itself. It comes separate, and then you buy the chrome accessories to go on it. So this is part number 3662, and in this bag we get the roll bar, we get some hardware, some self-tapping screws, we get the bumpers. There's the bumpers right there. We have the lights that go on top of the roll bar. It looks like we have the chrome air cleaner assembly that just bolts onto the hood, kind of just keys in, and that'll go right there. And it looks like we've got some more support parts for the bumper. And then they give you a little instruction sheet, shows you how everything goes on. And then here is the front grille that comes separate as well. And I'll just go through everything that's in here. This is part number 3656. And as you can see, it's got those Ford decals on there as well, just to let you know. Ford licensed product. And there's the grille. It's got some really nice chrome plating on it. We've got the headlight decals again and some marker lights. more instructions, hardware to install. These are some supports that help hold the grill on the body. Then we have some two-sided tape here to help hold the grill on separately. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. I'm going to show you all the proper steps in preparing the body for paint, how to mask it off. I'll show you how to get a nice multicolored paint job. I'll bolt on all the accessories, and then we'll take a look at this truck finally finished. I'm really excited about it. So the first step in preparing a body for paint is to actually wash it. The reason why you want to do that is during the molding process, there's a chance that some oils, either from the machinery or from the plastic itself, can still be on the body or get on the body. And then when you go to paint it, that oil will kind of cause the paint to separate and the paint job will look kind of crummy. So what you want to do is you basically just want to get a bunch of paper towels, have one to wash the body. You want to have some dishwashing soap and put a couple drops in the body. Basically just scrub the inside of the body to make sure you get all the oils off. Once it's all washed up, take some more paper towels, dry it really well, make sure there's no water left. So when you do go to paint it, there's no water in there and the paint obviously won't stick to the water. It's also a good idea to wash with warm water. That will help release any of the oils. So now technically this body is clean and ready for paint. So if you're just a one-colored paint job type person, what you could actually do is just go ahead and spray the body right now and not even worry about the window masks. If you want, you can put on the window masks. But with this decal sheet right here, they give you the windows, the front windows, the rear windows, the side windows. So you could actually spray this thing and just slap these decals on and not have to worry about any masking or bleeding or anything like that. But if you want to go the extra mile and create a more finished body, then you could go ahead and apply the window masks. Now through all of these steps, you want to make sure that your hands are clean. So make sure you just, have them washed off. Don't touch anything oily before you go and apply any masks or get greasy fingerprints on the body. Again, that will cause the paint to kind of just bleed away from that oily or greasy spot. So now we can just go and apply these window masks. I actually pulled off the outside, weeded the outside of the window masks off. These are all pre-cut from the factory. So these will just drop into place right where you see the windows and it should match pretty much perfectly. Now all you have to do is really just pull the window mask off the backing and apply it to the windows. So when I go and apply it to like windshield areas, I like to start in a top corner, stick it down to the top corner, and then go stick the other top corner down and then work my way out from the center. Don't be afraid to flex the body if you need to get your hands in there for better placement. These things are flexible. They're going to take a beating later. And it'll certainly stretch out a little bit so you get your masking in place. There it is, all my window masks in place. But simply placing the window mask on the body isn't enough. You have to go back and push down the edges to make sure that the paint won't bleed underneath the mask. And to do that, my technique is I like to use the back of my thumbnail to push down those edges. So just run the back of your thumbnail on all the edges. You could actually see, if you flip it over, you could see that the air bubbles are getting worked out. Let me see if I could get it up close here. You could see all the air bubbles. If you have enough lighting, you'll see all the air bubbles is slowly getting pushed out. And that's how you know that the edges are sealed and you won't get any paint bleeds. So with the window mask on, now it's time to design your paint scheme. Now for this particular job, I'm going to do something very simple, but just a tip for those that want to do something a little bit more elaborate, and perhaps it's your first time painting a body. What you do in order to figure out your scheme is you basically just take a thin Sharpie marker. This is a body marker from Parma, and you draw your scheme onto the outside of the body. Once you have your scheme set up, maybe you got some flames or some checkers or something, you take some masking tape, lay it on the inside where those graphics are that you drew, and that's when you go ahead and take a hobby knife right here and cut out the graphics. Now when you do use a hobby knife to cut out the graphics or anything on the body, make sure that you only apply light pressure. When you use a hobby knife on a body, it actually scores the body, and if it goes too deep, potentially that spot could crack in a crash. So just be careful not to go too deep into the masking when you are using a hobby knife. But for this particular job, I'm going to do something very simple. I asked my son what colors he liked, and he gave me these two colors right here. He gave me frosted orange and silver from Tamiya. So that's what I have to work with. That's what he wants. That's what he's going to get. So actually what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this body line right here to separate the two colors. Traxxas gives you some chrome pinstriping here with the marker light, so that will help break up the paint scheme. Should make things pretty easy. So what I'm going to do now is just take some masking tape, and I'm going to start masking off this bottom area here, and I'm going to spray the top actually first. The top's going to be orange. And then I'm actually going to go and back it up with some copper, so it gives it a nice deep orangey copper tinge. and then the bottom will be the silver, and I think that chrome stripe will make it look really good. Now, in painting a body, I like to tell people to go get a new roll of masking tape. Actually, someone took my newest roll of masking tape here in the house, so I had to use this roll I found in the kids' crafts room. So anyway, the reason why I like to tell people to use a new roll is all the edges are nice and clean. This one has some dust on it. So if you are using the edge of the masking tape for a nice straight line, you want that edge to be clean, so make sure it's a new roll of tape. And obviously tape comes in different sizes, so if you have a larger area to cover, maybe it's better to get a wider roll of tape. Again, this is the only roll of tape I found in the house, so this is what I'm going to use. And then the other thing is don't use the blue tape. The blue tape is a low tack tape meant for painting around your home, on your walls, so it doesn't peel off any layers of paint on the walls. Get yourself a good roll of like 3M tape. So as you can see, I already put a piece of tape over here. I'm going to start filling in the bottom with tape to cover it up so I can spray my orange first. And all I do is basically just take a long strip, and then I'll take it and come in on that line that I showed you where that decal is going to go. And I'll just put this in the middle of that line where I know that decal is going to be. It doesn't have to be perfect because that decal is going to cover it. But if you are doing something more elaborate, just take your time, plan things out. And because once some paint is down, you really can't remove it. Now, when you get into the corners, you got to make sure that the tape goes nice and deep into the corner, that it is actually touching the Lexan. You don't want an air bubble there. Take a look on the outside, make sure there's no air trapped underneath. If you have to, go and pull the tape back up, push it back down to make sure you really get it into any corners, because any area where you see air between the tape and the body is where paint can bleed down, and then you'll see it later on in the finished product. Again, use your fingernail to push it in. There is a tool called a burnishing tool where you can go and get into some really tight areas and push the masking tape down if necessary. And again, just make sure there are no air bubbles. All right, so I have all my masking down. Now I'm going to go back and push down all the edges one more time with the back of my fingernail to make sure everything is nice and set. Make sure that no paint bleeds underneath this masking tape. All this additional masking tape, make sure that it is pushed down as well on top of each other so no paint bleeds underneath or through that, because it will show up, and correcting that problem later on is not an easy task to do. So it's better to just get it out of the way and take the time to push everything down. Now, as you can see with the back here, I just went straight across the bed. Kind of the same with the front. The grill is going to cover that area. I checked that out, and then the decal that Traxxas supplies for the tailgate, that'll cover that as well, so that'll look pretty good. So I'm going to spend a few more minutes pushing this masking tape down, then we're going to go outside and spray some paint. All right, so a couple of more tips before we actually start to spray. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, why didn't you cover the bed, Greg? Well, you can go and mask off the bed just like I did with this area here, but I got a little trick to show you at the end that'll make life probably a little bit easier. Now, the next tip is to do all your spray painting outside. The fumes that come from spray paints, it is not good for you. It's better to wear a mask and spray in a well-ventilated area. The next tip is to actually warm up the can before you spray. What I like to do is get a bowl of hot tap water and leave the can in it for a few minutes to warm it up. This will actually help build a little bit of pressure in the can and help give you a finer spray on the body. Once the can is warm, make sure you shake it really well before you do start painting. Now it's that time. Let's put on our first coat. Now the key here is to use light coats and wait between coats for it to dry. If you put down one heavy coat, most likely the paint is going to bleed. I'm ready to spray my first coat. Hold the can about 10 to 12 inches away from the body and spray through. So you start almost outside the body and spray all the way through. Because if you start here and start spraying, what'll happen is you might get a clump of spray here and it'll be darker than the other areas. So if you start on the outside and work your way across, you have a much nicer, smoother coverage. And that's it. Just a few sprays, and that is your first coat. All right, now it's time for coat number 2. What I actually did is I went inside and I used a hairdryer to gently heat the paint to dry it a little bit quicker. Now onto coat number 2. What I like to do is turn the body a bit and go back and do some light sprays to make sure I get even coverage. And now on to coat number 3, and this is where a little bit of practice comes in handy. I've been painting for over 30 years, so I kind of know what to do here. Basically, you want to make sure that you get into all the angles and areas, and it gets a little bit risky because you do have to start spraying when you're inside the body. But what you want to do is just move the body around, and sometimes you even need to get a little closer to make sure that you get into those hard to reach areas, and just keep spraying multiple coats until that area seems to be covered well. So now I've moved on to my backing coat, and for that I've used a copper. Now the backing coat will alter the final finish of your body. So for the orange, it's going to give it this deep coppery look to it, and if you use a silver, it'll give that orange a vibrant look to it, and same with a white. So for this particular paint job, I'm going to use copper to make it really stand out. Alright, so I've laid down a couple coats of copper. I'm ready to move on to my next color, which is a silver. If you think that your paint is still too transparent, you may want to consider backing it with a white or a black, depending on what color you selected. Just remembering that whatever you're going to back it with is going to alter the effect of the final color. Now, I'm just going to pull off all this masking and I'll spray my silver. I removed all the masking tape. Now I'm ready to spray my silver. Just like I did before, I'm going to do about 3 coats until I think it's opaque enough, and then if I need to, I'll use a backer on it, and I probably will just to make sure that it is nice and opaque. And what I'm probably going to do is back it with black as well, so I might back the silver with white, and then I can spray my black. And like I said, I'm going to use white to back up the silver. So remember I said I had that tip for painting the bed? Well, here it is. What you do is you take your X-Acto knife, you gently cut the overspray film in the bed area and simply pull it off and spray it on the outside. That'll give it a nice matte finish and it'll look like a true truck bed. And finally, I like to spray the inside of my bodies with black. That way when you look through the windshield, it's got a darker finish on the interior versus maybe the color you sprayed it or the white. I think it just gives it a more finished look. So the painting is all finished, and right now it kind of looks like a hot mess because of all the overspray on it. But trust me, it's going to look a lot better in just a few minutes. Now the first step is to take off the masking tape on the inside, and then we're going to remove the overspray from the outside and then bolt on our chrome accessories. To remove the masking tape, all you're going to do is take your hobby knife, slip it under the masking tape, pull up an edge, and then just peel it right off. It is already looking better with the window mask removed, and now the cool part, removing the overspray film. Truck is looking good. Now we're going to bolt on all this chrome stuff. Actually, so before I go bolt anything on, I'm going to prep a lot of these parts by putting the decals on ahead of time. Just make life a little bit easier. And again, if you watch my video on how to apply decals, that has a lot of useful tips that will apply right here. What I'm going to do is take my X-Acto knife and I'm going to start using it to place the decals on the different accessories here. I've lifted the decal off. Now I'm going to just set it in place. The X-Acto knife allows me to adjust the decal wherever I need it to be, and then I can just push it right on. And there it is, starting to look good already. Well, I'm in decal mode. I guess I'm just going to finish off decal on the body, see how it looks, and then I'll bolt on all the accessories. So I'm getting close. I went and applied all of the chrome decals, and so far it is looking pretty cool. Tailgate looks cool. I've got my door handles on. And I went through and put all the rest of the decals on the rest of the chrome accessories here. Now I just have to bolt on all these parts. So like I said, Traxxas gives you all of the hardware necessary to do so. I'm actually going to start here with the chrome grille. Definitely want to see what this looks like on the front of the machine here. But first I have to apply some of this two-sided tape as I showed you before. So basically you just got to peel this off, stick it on the back of the headlight here, then pull off the other side. You'll be able to apply it to the body now. And this basically just helps it stick to the body. Now with that stuck on, you take these two little caps, place it on the back side, and this just helps pinch the grill to the body. Then you give you these two little screws and you screw these into the back side of the grill with a Phillips head screwdriver. I have one of those right here. Now that grill is secure. Now I can move on to the front bumper. And for that, there is a little bit of assembly here. I have to put this this faux winch in the front bumper, and then it simply gets bolted onto the front of the body here. Next up, I got to install the rear bumper, and it has this little extra support that has to go on the back side that pinches the body and the bumper so it stays nice and sturdy. And again, just 2 Phillips screws hold it in. All right, with the bumpers on, now I'm going to put on the air filters and carb. Those just use these 2 short 3x8 screws. Finally, I'll just install the roll bar. That looks pretty good. Now all I have to do is snap on the light bar. That looks pretty awesome. But I can't place it on the chassis just yet. Craniac uses different body posts, so I have to swap out the body mounts. Luckily, I had the required rear body mount. It's just the body mount off my slash, and all I had to do was turn the body mounts around in the front. Now I'm ready to check out the body on the truck and check that out. That looks pretty cool. This took me under an hour and a half to complete this entire body. Now, if this is your first paint job, it might take a bit longer. Again, just remember to take your time and the body will look great when it's done. I'm really excited how this project turned out. I bet you my son is going to love it, and I'm actually going to get it ready so when he comes home from school today, he gets to drive it. Hey, Jakester, come here. I got your spot ready. What do you think of your truck?
Cool.
Cool?
I like the color from school.
You remember what it looked like before? Like this one? Now look at it. Which one do you like better?
That was mine.
I know. No, I turned it into this. What do you think?
Cool.
Cool? This one's got chrome on it. Got air filters in the hood. It's got a wheelie bar now. What do you think? It's got chrome wheels instead of... What are you doing, kid? You want to go drive it? All right, let's go drive it. That wraps up our project build of the Traxxas Craniac turned into a Ford monster truck. Hope you guys enjoyed all that. Hope you got a lot of useful information, and I hope those how-tos of all the video series helped you learn how to put parts on this vehicle. It's easy to do. Traxxas offers a number of great hop-up parts for this truck, and you could really just customize it to the way you want your particular vehicle to look. So if you haven't done so yet, guys, please hit that subscribe button and please throw me a like for this video. And if you have a question or comment, that could go in the section below. And finally, if you haven't checked it out, rcdriver.com, we have a lot of RC information over there that I'm sure will help you with your hobby.